open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. Try it with me. May I be empty. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Nice to be with all of you. I'm Rabbi Joel Nickerson.
I'm Cantor Lisa Peacott.
And Rabbi Leah Fine is also joining us this evening. When the cantor was just singing that song, I was thinking about a few things. One, light, how important it is for us to be thinking about light right now. When we think about the darkness that is out there, and how wonderful it is to find the light of being with community. And full, because right before the service, my middle daughter walks up to me, Kayla, and I was not expecting her to be here. She's not here with her sisters or her mother. And she decided that she wanted to come to services. So I am full because my daughter, of her own accord, as a teenager, decided to come to Shabbat services. So that's a win for me. May all of you have that win in your own life as well. Really, this Torah portion, Vayakhel, is all about gathering together. And given what is happening in the world and what happened yesterday, which I will talk more about later, it's so important that we are gathered together for Shabbat. It comes every week, and some weeks it just feels like we need it more than others. So I'm so glad you're here. Before we go any further, introduce yourself to the people around you. Say Shabbat Shalom, ask their names, ask them how they're doing. Shabbat Shalom.
Now that we've welcomed one another, we're going to go ahead and welcome those angels of Shabbat. So if you want to turn to page 24 as we join together in those words of Shalom Aleichem, we welcome the angels to bless this community, and then we say, okay, we're all together, we're here, it's been a week, but now you can go away because we've got each other. Page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon, Melech, Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leShalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. we officially have to begin Shabbat with light. It's so strange to do services with light pouring in through the windows, this time change. But there's also something so beautiful about light pouring into our space. So we're going to invite, we have two very special B'nai Mitzvah with us. We have Liam and we have Carter. So we're going to invite you with your parents and your siblings to come up to officially welcome in Shabbat with the lighting of our candles. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're going to invite our B'nai Mitzvah families back to their seats, and we'll be inviting Liam and Carter later on to help lead us in some prayers.
Now that we have opened our Shabbat with light, we invite the Shabbat bride, the Shabbat queen, into our space with Lecha Dodi on page 20.
Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, Kabbalat. and we face the doorway in which we came in to greet the Sabbath bride, to officially greet Shabbat. Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam besimcha uv'tzola. Toch emunei om segula, boi chala, lecha dodi, likrat kala, ene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, ene Shabbat nekabela. Remain standing for the Barhu, page 28.
You may be seated. In many ways, Shabbat is about a reset, about a new beginning, seeing the previous 6 days of the week as separate from the seventh day of rest of Shabbat. And this week's Parsha, in many ways, is also a new beginning. Last week, our Parsha dealt with the golden calf, the sin that the Israelites committed against God by worshiping an idol, the one thing they were not supposed to do. God ends up forgiving the Israelites. And Rashi, one of the great Jewish commentators, Rashi says that the day that God forgave the Israelites in last week's Parsha, that day was Yom Kippur. And so this week's Parsha, Parashat Vayakhel, Rashi tries to figure out, okay, so then when in the sequence do we find ourselves today, when everybody is now gathered, as Rabbi Nickerson was explaining, as a community? And he says, well, if that Parsha was the day after Yom Kippur, then this one must be starting, if that week's Parsha was Yom Kippur, then this one starts the exact day after Yom Kippur. This week's Parsha itself represents a new beginning, a reset for an entire community of people. and a new way forward, not forgetting what came before, but looking ahead with a sense of hope. And tonight, we are lucky not just to be celebrating Shabbat, not just to be celebrating our two amazing B'nai Mitzvah, but we also are celebrating birthdays in our community this evening, for whom today represents a new beginning and a new hopeful way forward into the coming year. So we'll invite up our birthdays, Diane Shankin, Joanne Sinaico, and Judy Pies to the Bima for a blessing for your birthday. You're doing great. You're doing great. I know. You have to come up the stairs. I know. Happy birthday. For your birthdays, we are thrilled to be able to offer you this blessing, this Misha Berach, as you embark on this next phase of your journey. Misha Berach Avotenu ve'imotenu, may the God who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless Diane, Joanne, and Judy, who have come this Shabbat grateful to God for the gift of life. May the Holy One continue to bless all of you with gratitude for all the gifts that enrich you, for family and friends, for the wisdom of our tradition, for all the sweetness that overflows our cups, and for the strength to meet adversity with courage. In celebrating this day and birthdays to come, may your example remind all of us that people may count the days of their life, but a person of wisdom makes every day count. May you, Judy, Joanne, and Diane, be blessed with a life of health and happiness, a life crowned with deeds of goodness and deeds of love. Let us all say amen.
Amen.
And now we will give you all a special blessing on this occasion. So I'll invite up the other clergy.
We have the words of the Shehechianu. We thank God for giving us life, for sustaining us, and allowing you to reach this milestone moment. So we join together in the words of the Shehechianu. Please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. And we all say Amen. Happy birthday, Mother.
Happy birthday to Diane, Joanne, and Judy. We are so thrilled to be able to celebrate all of you tonight. And we continue with blessings and prayers for love with Ahavat Olam on page 32. Let's read together in the English at the bottom of page 32. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel.
We rise for the words of Shema. lesser name is Liam and or Carter, and we invite them up to lead us in the chanting of the Ve'ahavta. We are found on page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Yasher Koach. Thank you. We'll call you up later in the service. Nicely done, guys.
Yasher Koach to Carter and Liam. I love how strongly and confidently you both just led us in Va'ahavta. That was beautiful. In a moment, we will continue with Mi Chamocha on page 40, which are the words that the Israelites sang upon their own redemption from slavery in Egypt when they tasted freedom for the very first time. And when we look at these words in the broader context of the story, we see much more than the words of joy that are on the page. If we look at the broader context of the story, we see the oppression that these people faced before they were able to sing this song. We see the hope that is inherent in these words. And we also see the fear that they express for what lies ahead, not knowing where they are walking into, where they are journeying into. And in Rabbi Nickerson's Shabbat message this week, he talked about holding multiple truths. And this prayer, Mi Chamocha, holds so many of those at the same time. It holds hope, and it also holds fear. It holds oppression, and it also holds freedom. And in many ways, that's what we're seeing in our world today, from Iran to Israel to all of us sitting here together. So as we sing the words of Mi Chamocha, let us hold all of those together as we continue to pray for hope and pray for peace for all of us, for all of humanity. Mi Chamocha is on page 40.
Mi Chamocha
ancestors were no strangers to pain and suffering in their world. And the words of the Hashkivenu show us this. The world was not a nice place to them. And sometimes, as we experienced yesterday, the world is not a nice place to us. And yet the same way that we turn each and every evening to the Hashkivenu prayer for words of comfort, to ask God to spread a Sukkot Shalom, tonight, in a fractured world, we turn to the same prayers that have sustained our people for thousands of years. And tonight, I want to add my own voice to that prayer. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, our God and God of our ancestors, spread over us your Sukkot Shalom, your canopy of peace. Grant a refuah shlema, a complete and total healing to the wounded of soul, of mind, and of spirit in Michigan, and comfort to all those whose sanctuary, whose holy dwelling place was violated. Be a refuge for all your children throughout the world who face hatred for their faith, their heritage, the circumstance of their birth or their identity. For all those living in fear, be their makom, their holy dwelling place and their safety. Remind us, O God, that every soul is created B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of the divine. May the one who makes peace in the high heavens make peace for us, for all Israel, and for all who inhabit this earth. Amen.
Amen.
We join together page 42 in our Hashkivenu prayer. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom, ve'ha'amidenu malkeinu lechayim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Amen.
We rise now as the ark is open for the Amidah on page 46. We will begin together and then continue silently on our own.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Once you've completed your prayers, you may be seated. This piece that I'm about to sing is called Rikma Enoshit Achat by Moti Hamer. It's an older song, but it's an Israeli song that speaks of this precious, ineffable connection that exists between all human beings that for some reason right now in the world is just too hard for us to recognize. But the words of this, because all of us, yes, all of us, are one human tapestry. And when one of us dies, something within all of us dies, and yet something of each person remains within us. The text concludes, if only we knew how to silence our rage, our humiliation, and our hurt. If only we knew how to say we're sorry. If only we knew how to start again. Shabbat becomes our opportunity to reflect. What part do we play in the suffering and the pain around us? And what can we do to remind each and every person and to remind ourselves that at the end of the day, we are one human tapestry? This is Rikma Enoshit. כשאמות משהו ממני, משהו ממני ימות בך, ימות בך כשתמות, משהו ממך בי, משהו ממך בי ימות איתך, ימות איתך, כי כולנו, כן כולנו, כולנו רקמה אנושית אחת חיה. ואם אחד מאיתנו הולך מעימנו, משהו מת בנו, משהו נשאר איתו. אם נדע איך להרגיע, איך להרגיע את האיבה, אם רק נדע, אם נדע להשקיט את זה ימינו, אלף פה בונה לומר סליחה, אם רק נדע, כי כולנו, כן כולנו, כולנו רקמה אנושית אחת חיה. ואם אחד מאיתנו הולך מעימנו, אז משהו מת בנו, משהו נשאר איתו. נשאר איתו.
One of the ways that we can be one is supporting one another through the challenges of our lives. So we're going to turn now to the middle of page 253 for Misha Berach. And this is our chance every service to think about the people we know, people in our community who are in need of healing, whether it be physical or emotional. So we're thinking about Aviva, Cynthia Allen, Bonnie Chiswick, Chaim David, Dahlia Bat Farangi, Harvey Fine, Juliet Gottfried, Karina Wallen-Harar, Harav Sarah Chana Bat Moshe Mordechai Vechindi, Cindy Jacobson, Chris Mintle, Michelle Novak, Stephen Ricklin, Quincy Rose, Robert Bob David Rudnick, Hinda Sasa, Ansel Sloan, Shraga Stern, Deborah Wallen, Don Weiss, Phyllis Kramer Wolf, and Manuasher Hayubuyan. Any other names of people you're thinking of who need healing at this time? So let's send our prayers of healing to all of them again, middle of page 253.
To make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha. It's been one of those weeks. On Sunday night, this past Sunday night, someone detonated an explosive outside a 120-year-old synagogue in Belgium, and it blew out the windows across the street. Earlier in the week in Toronto, a synagogue was shot at. 5 days later, 2 more Toronto synagogues were hit with gunfire on the same night. Yesterday afternoon, armed police surrounded a synagogue in Norway after a security threat. And of course, yesterday as well, a man drove a vehicle loaded with weapons and explosives through the door at Temple Israel in Michigan. 140 children were inside. 7 synagogues in less than 2 weeks. And that's not just a coincidence. That is a disturbing new climate. And many of us are just increasingly tired of scanning those headlines and wondering if the next synagogue is going to be ours, tired of noticing security guards before we notice the stained glass, tired of calculating exits, tired of having to explain to our children why Jewish spaces need protection. So if you're arriving tonight and you're frightened, or you're angry, or you're weary, or you're on edge, you are not overreacting. You are definitely not alone. I am with you. What happened yesterday at Temple Israel was yet another
moment of evil. And I want to say that plainly before I say anything else. A man tried to murder Jews and Jewish children in a house of worship and learning. And there's no context that can soften that. And there's no backstory that's going to make it acceptable. And there's no framework in which driving a truck into a synagogue is anything other than what it is. But I think what happened next reveals something essential about the moment we're living in. The attacker was identified as a 41-year-old man, born in Lebanon. He came to the U.S. in 2011, a U.S. citizen in 2016, worked at a restaurant, as they say, in Dearborn Heights, and about a week before the attack, an Israeli airstrike hit his family's village in East Lebanon, and his 2 brothers were killed, along with a niece and a nephew, as they were sitting down to break their Ramadan fast. But the moment that those details became public, I felt a disturbing distortion begin to take shape. Not everywhere, but enough places that it mattered. The story started to sound like this. His family was killed, he was devastated, and so he attacked a synagogue. All of it was implied, but just as effective. The explanation starts to become an excuse. Grief starts to become permission to do harm. And 140 Jewish children in Michigan somehow become casualties of IDF operations in Lebanon. That is one of the oldest habits of anti-Semitism, turning Jews into the reason for the violence done to Jews. Anti-Semitism works by erasing moral boundaries. It takes Jews who have never met each other across continents and politics and generations and imagines them as one guilty body. It treats any Jew anywhere as available to absorb the anger about Jews elsewhere. That's why a synagogue in Michigan becomes, in the anti-Semitic imagination, a legitimate target for the grief rooted in Lebanon. That is how a synagogue becomes a stand-in for the Israeli government. That is how Jewish children become just symbols instead of just children. I'm bringing this up because I believe we are entering a period in which acts of violence against Jews will increasingly arrive wrapped in explanation, wrapped in context, wrapped in backstory, carefully deployed not to deepen our understanding, but to shift the blame. And we need to learn to distinguish between context and causation, between personal grief and permission, and between explanations and excuses. A person may suffer terribly and still be fully responsible for choosing to do an evil act. And a Jewish child in a synagogue is never, ever a legitimate vessel for someone else's pain or rage. And I shouldn't even have had to say that sentence. The fact that I do tells you everything about what's going on in the world right now. But refusing justification for terror is not the same as refusing humanity. What this man did was horrible, completely. The attempt to frame his backstory as mitigation for attack on Jews is extremely dangerous, and we need to reject it. We need to watch out for other versions of this in the future, but the grief behind the story is not fiction. Members of his family are dead. Jews do not become safer by becoming less human. at the Seder in a few weeks, we're going to spill drops of wine from our cups, one for each plague, because our joy is diminished by the suffering of others, even of our enemies. It's not because the Egyptians were innocent or that our liberation was wrong. It's because suffering always diminishes the world. And because Judaism refuses to let our victory or our power or our success make us cruel. So all of it is true all at the same time. What he did was evil. The efforts to turn Jewish victimhood into Jewish provocation are anti-Semitic and wrong. And innocent people in Lebanon and elsewhere are suffering in ways that should break our hearts. And none of those things cancels out the other. Some of us are sitting here tonight and just want to be angry or scared or protective. And we don't want to hold anything else right now. And I feel some of that too. But if we let our anger flatten the world into something simpler than it is, we lose something essential. And if we let someone else's narrative flatten it for us, whether that narrative makes Jews the villain or makes the world so complicated that no one is responsible for anything, we lose something even more essential. We need to get back to holding a lot of seemingly contradictory things together at the same time. Because there are many forces that want us to think the world is a lot simpler, a lot more black and white than it actually is. And if that feels like it's too much to carry alone, that's because we're not supposed to carry that complication alone. This Shabbat is called Shabbat HaChodesh. It marks the beginning of the season for the preparation for Passover. And there's something amazing about the fact that right before the 10th and final plague, there's a pause in the narrative. And God commands the Israelites to prepare for their freedom and the Exodus. God doesn't wait for the plagues to even end. God didn't wait for the liberation to be complete. Right in the middle of the devastation, right in the middle of fear and uncertainty, God tells the Israelites to begin, to prepare, to start getting ready for freedom, even though the world around them was still broken, and that is where we are right now. The world is broken, and it's frightening, and it's morally tangled. And at the same time, we cannot afford to wait for it to make sense before we step toward one another. We can't wait for that. This Shabbat, marking the start of the Passover preparation, is the insistence that freedom is worth getting ready for, even when you can't see it yet. And maybe it's that preparation that we need right now, not just in our kitchens, but in this room, and in our willingness to gather, to pray, to sing, to think, to wrestle, to refuse isolation, to refuse simplicity, to refuse fear. Because that too is a kind of preparation. And maybe that's what Shabbat HaChodesh asks of us this year. Not to resolve the world's brokenness tonight, but to begin anyway. To prepare anyway, to hope anyway, to turn towards each other anyway. So if you're carrying that fear and that burden, let this community help carry it with you. That's what this place is for. That is what Shabbat is for. And that's what the Jewish people are for. Shabbat Shalom. With that, we are going to move to Aleinu, a prayer that says, similarly, it is upon us. It is upon us. So I ask you to turn to the middle of page 282. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו 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 אחד.
May be seated. Just a few announcements before we move into Mourner's Kaddish. The Jewish Food Lab is bringing a wonderful pre-Passover experience, because you wouldn't be able to do this on Passover. Bagel Fest is coming to the West Coast, yes, at the Audrey Urmas Pavilion on Sunday, April 12th. So I guess that's after Pesach.
It's a breaking of the Passover.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. There are going to be top bagel makers, chefs from all over the West Coast. I mean, anything and everything bagel related is going to be there. And really, this is a huge hit on the East Coast, and we're bringing it to the West Coast, and it's going to be happening in Koreatown on that Sunday. So you don't have to worry about traffic, and then you can get your gluten fill, except for my middle daughter who has celiac, so she will not be going. On April 15th, we're very lucky to have author Sarah Hurwitz. She's written a few books. She's a wonderful thinker, Jewish thinker, and she's going to be talking about reclaiming Jewish identity amid blame and shame. She was a former White House speechwriter, acclaimed author. She's going to be sitting down with me in conversation, talking about not only her book, but the issues facing the Jews of today. And so that will be a wonderful evening that I really hope you will come and join us. We were supposed to, of course, have Daniel Hartman here this weekend. Then we were supposed to have Rabbi Meir Azari, an Israeli rabbi. You know, we planned, God laughs. Because of the war, they weren't able to make it. So we're hoping to have both of them at some point in the future, so we'll keep you updated on that. There is a women's Torah study that happens on Wednesdays. We have a second night Seder coming up for Passover if you want to join us for that. So a variety of things, and you can go on our new website to find all the details for everything coming up. So with that, we are going to move into the Mourner's Kaddish. The tradition that we have started recently is to create this space, not for too long, but at least 3 or 4 people to share any reflections they may have about someone that they're remembering, if they're here to commemorate a yahrzeit in a period of Shiva or Shloshim, a period of mourning, or if they're just thinking of someone specifically this evening. This is a chance for us not only to read what always is a very long list of names of people who we are remembering because we've been around for a long time here at Wilshire Boulevard Temple, but really to take the Jewish concept of remembering someone not just by their name, but by the stories and what they brought into the world. So I just want to create this space. If there is anyone who wants to share just a few words about someone they're thinking of, it can just be about one thing that you remember about them, something about their legacy. Yes?
We're here to celebrate our daughter, Nicole Catherine Suchevieski, who passed away in 1998. But she is remembered every day in our hearts and minds. Very positive, beautiful spirit. All of our family who didn't know her knows her. And we ate chocolate eclairs in her honor.
Beautiful.
Hi. Last week was one of my grandmother's yahrzeit, but this week is my other grandmother's yard site, and it's my grandmother, Nana. Nana was one of the founding members of this B'nai B'rith congregation 1,000 years ago. And my Nana used to tell the most wonderful stories about when before Rabbi Magnin came to Los Angeles, because she was born in the Gold Rush country. She was born in Oroville, California, and there were no records of her birth because there was an explosion or a fire and the Oroville Dam burst or something crazy. And in those days, people were not born in a year. They were born the year that Aunt Sophie had her operation. It was the year that Uncle Moshe had his third child. Everything was like that. So my Nana, we think she was 90 when she died, but she might have been 95, she might have been 85. She used to change her age depending on what she did. If it was something really remarkable, she'd say, pretty good for 90. But Nana, you were only 80. Well, or she would say, she had all of these wonderful ways about her that making things up. Anyway, my Nana was, she was pretty special. And her name was Myrtle Monash Sugarman. So I have to say the full name. And that was my Nana.
I wanted to honor two grandparents that aren't here with us. Sorry, I lost my voice. But my mom, Nahid Said Farasabet, and my father-in-law, Dr. Parviz Pir Nazar. So it's hard when we have special moments, of course. That's when their memory comes to life more. So they are here in spirit. Thankfully, we have two living grandparents with us. Sorry, it sounds worse because of my laryngitis, but we are very happy that we're celebrating Liam's bar mitzvah, and we're remembering the grandparents that aren't here.
I'd like to say that Carter, who's a bar mitzvah boy, at your birth, your great Nana, my mother-in-law, was there, and we called her the Duchess. And I think it's great that my wife is like her, and it's also a challenge. She's like her. She lived to be 104 and was the most charming, beautiful woman, a great sense of humor, and she loved you so much. And she'd be so proud if she could be here today to see you.
Thank you. My mother died 2 years ago last Sunday, and unbeknownst to me, I was cleaning out a drawer and I found an old diary of hers, because I moved here 2 years ago and I had taken a few items of hers and I never opened it. And I opened it to this page where she was describing my daughter Vanessa's bat mitzvah on the top of Matzada. We had all gone to Israel. And she said this was the most fabulous moment of her life, and that she was so proud of Vanessa and so proud of me, and that her mother would have been so proud. So I wanted to share that.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Beautiful stories and memories. We're thinking about all of them. And we're going to turn now to page 294. And first I'll share the names of the people whom we're remembering, and then we will join together in Mourner's Kaddish. First, those who have passed away during the past month in our community: Rhonda Allen, Peter Bernstein, Michael Bornstein, Rabbi Jerry Ram Cutler, Sylvia Dworsky, Michael Schwab, Don Sims, and Rosalind Unger. The yahrzeits that we are commemorating this week: Pauline Adelman, Ruth Anyon, Rosalie Appel, Constance Austin, Robert Bobert, Jack Becker, Joyce Bernstein, Charmaine Blatt, Phyllis Blivis, Galt Booth, Byron Brandt, Pablo Brenner, John Brennan, Gretchen Brown, Harriet Burton, Albert Calderon, Harold Chesko, Sam Chordick, Irving Cohen, Rose Cohn, Hillary Turtletaub Costin, Louise Cox, Merle Elkanen, Ann Epstein, Frank Feeder, Robert Feldman, Seymour Finkelstein, Louis Fisher, Minnie Fisher, Gerald Friedman, Sonia Friedman, Jacob Furman, Hal Gaba, Harold Getz, Aaron Glickman, Harold Globe, Helen Goldfeeder, Rosalie June Goldinger, Warren Goodman, Minna Grodin, Bernard Gross, Ruth Grosser, Russell Grossman, Homer Gurin, David Hahn, Jack Harris, Muriel Harris, Sharon Ray Hayden, Linda Hockman, Elizabeth Hoffman, Alfred Hyman, Rudolph Indyk, Drusilla Issam, Herman Mitchell Jacobs, Ann Kaplan, Morton Kay, Harry Kirchheimer, Coca Konar, Selma Konitz, Daniel Krasnow, Rose Lembo, Richard Carl Levi, Alfred Freddie Lisbon, Russell Lomask, Ruth Matson, Al Michaels, Carol Itzkowitz Neiman, Mort Newman, Harvey Orlin, Leonard Perlman, Peggy Pensionar, Claire Persky, Paul Garfield Phelps, Leonard Phillips, Diane Gay Ratner, Kelly Romick, Schiff Ronald, Pauline Rose, Molly Rosenbaum, Helen Rosen, Lily Rossman, Gideon Rosner, Jacob Rubin, Vera Samuelson, Nazanin Sarafadeh, Joseph Sauer, Shirley Schalkman, Abe Seamus, Neenan Schwartz, Larry Schwimmer, Carrie Beth Luton Scott, Teresa Shapiro, Daisy Siniko, Melvin Sires, Sarah Slan, Joel Smossen, Blossom Smith, Nicole Catherine Shikowitzi, sorry for mispronouncing her name, Elisa Torkian, Robert Tuchin, Donald Van, Robert Valais, Saul Wegg, Gregory Weisberg, Israel Weisberg, Mike Weiss, Rose Westein, Rachel Wormuth, Constance Whitney, Esther Winsky, Robert Yablans, Louis Senkel, Lester Zickerman, Nathan Zipperman, and it is the Hebrew yahrzeit for Rabbi Stanley David's 1 year. So we're thinking of all of them. If you are in the period of Shiva or Shloshim, period of 7 days or 30 days since the passing of a loved one, if you could please rise at this time. If you are in your first year of mourning, or you are here to commemorate a yahrzeit, thinking of someone special, if you could please rise. And I ask our entire community to stand with you at this time as we join together, page 294 for Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'kadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach hirute ve'amlich malchute. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam al me'al maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yinaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudisha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
We conclude our service with the words of Oseh Shalom. May the one who makes peace in the heavens bring peace and comfort to here on earth. Feel free to put your arms around your loved ones or your neighbors. No one should stand alone as we conclude our Shabbat service in a prayer for peace. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Shalom, עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ויעקב ישראל. 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 Shabbat Shalom, everyone. A very special thank you to our music director, Susan Rosenstein, Ava Nahas, and Nadav Peled for their beautiful music. We're going to invite Liam and Carter and families back up to lead us in Kiddush and Motzi, where the blessings on page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav veratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hinhilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit, ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Ki banu bacharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim. V'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat l'chaim. Take a sip, l'chaim. And last but not least, we have our hamotzi with our challah. So take a sturdy hand on that, and we'll say the blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. 1, 2, 3, pull. Oh. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Please join us for an oneg.